Hi, everyone. I'm Steve here with Nicole, the gut girl. How's it going, Nicole?
Good. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, you wanted to rant a little bit about the health or what's in our food. How healthy is it? And some things that are maybe put in the food that aren't the best for our health. So, we'll talk about that. If you guys are interested in learning more about health and fitness, nutrition. We do interviews with nutritionists like Nicole and personal trainers and doctors. So subscribe to the channel. So, a lot of changes going on as we're making this video in April of 2025 about our food supplies in certain states saying, you can't put this particular type of dye in your food. And, there's always arguments on both sides of the fence on, because people like to eat their processed foods and they like it to be pretty and they want it to be as cheap as possible. But, I don't know. You and I are kind of food Nazis.
Right, right.
We're really
I'm very proud of
strict
it.
about, what we eat. I mean, it's not always perfect, but I would say you and I and my wife and your husband, we're very aware of what we put in our bodies.
Absolutely.
And I think people are becoming more aware of it. That, hey, maybe this isn't the best thing to be in the food. So what are your first thoughts?
Well, it was really interesting to me this morning. I'm getting ready and I always have the news on. And what came on was a certain state was banning red dye number 3. And that's been in the news a lot lately because of certain people like us who have influencers and that kind of stuff who have been really outspoken about it. But how their take on it was so interesting to me that I was like, wow, that's how can you kind of spin it like that? They were saying, well, now food is going to be so expensive for people and people are going to struggle so much. If you look at it that way, how the biggest concerns about red dye number 3 is it's cancer causing, it's a thyroid disruptor. So people like me who are very sick, were very sick from thyroid. If I just never paid attention to that and ate that all the time, that would have been a crux to keep me sick. It damages DNA, causes behavioral issues in kids. It's a huge thing in schools right now. And it causes a great amount of nerve issues. All of those things are very expensive. When I went through treatment and was figuring out my thyroid issue, that was very expensive. So to have a spin on it like that, I was a little disappointed in how the media was playing that.
Yeah. And, there's a difference between preservatives and food dye, right? Because the
Sure.
food dye is just how it's making it look.
Look, it's
And so
making
you would think that the cost of food, if you took out that ingredient, you would think that it would go down a hair by taking something out that's not needed in it just because of color. Now, the health issue you were really talking about is, the preservatives and things that they put. Now you're looking at a cost issue because of the shelf life. So yes, things are going to be cheaper if the thing can stay on the shelf for 5 years, right?
right. But
So I
also,
get that because you can still sell it and you don't have to throw it away. But
wouldn't you think it's going to be less expensive though to have 4 things in the actual item rather than 15 things in the food?
sure, of course. But, the whole argument there is that, well, it's not going to last on the shelf and we're going to have to pull it off and not sell it. So we're going to lose money.
So
Still,
buy lesser quantity.
what's your priority?
Right, right. What's your priority? Do you want a child who has behavioral issues and can't sit still and is not listening in class. So now you've got to go to the teachers and you've got to figure out what's happening. You have to have appointments with the principal because that stuff's happening. So where is the cost savings? Because you're leaving your work, you have to deal with this. He needs special behavior situations. You have to set up all sorts of different things in place to make sure he's okay at school. I don't see the savings there.
Yeah, again, it's a priority like exercise,
True.
exercise is good for you, but people don't want to prioritize it. Even 5 minutes working out in their own home, which, you can do some lunges and some overhead presses and step ups and all kinds of things that you can do at home in 5 minutes that are a benefit. But even that isn't a priority for probably
Right.
most people, huh?
Oh, certainly. When I get stuck at the desk too long, I always get up and do some squats because I can't stand sitting. And that's because it's ingrained in me. But exercise is so beneficial. Circulation, piece of mental health, all of that, gut health.
Yeah, especially if you're older. I'm
Right.
doing more
So
shorts and
good.
stuff on little simple little exercises that people can do at home. Um,
Absolutely.
so anyway, any last thoughts on this little rant of yours?
Well, I would definitely check how much it's really going to cost you, but include your time in there because time is money.
Right. Okay. So Nicole, you'll give them $100 off your program. You work with people on their nutrition, on their hormones and all that stuff. You're working with my wife. You've been working with her for over a year now, a couple
Hmm.
years maybe,
Absolutely.
trying to get all that dialed in. And she's quite the complicated case, isn't she?
Yes, she is. Good thing she's so sweet.
Yeah. And she does a lot of her own research for sure.
Yeah, she does. She knows her body.
Yeah. Okay. So $100 off if they mention that they saw this video. And how do they get a hold of you?
You can reach me via email at thegutgirl1@gmail.com, or you can get me on any social media platform at thegutgirlnv.
All right, Nicole, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.